He pointed his finger in my face and said, "That's not your spot." But it was, and he picked the wrong fight. It was supposed to be just another ordinary day. I arrived home from work exhausted, with groceries in the car, ready to park in my usual spot in the building's basement. But as soon as I turned on my blinker and started to maneuver, he appeared, the neighbor from 301 Hall, with a master of the world posture, his jacket open, his cell phone in his hand. He walked as if he were about to issue a court order. He stopped in front of my car, staring me down. He raised his hand and said loudly, "This spot isn't yours. I'm warning you, if you park there, you'll be inconvenienced." I thought he was joking. I swear, I made a what sign, rolled down the window, and asked, "Excuse me, is there a problem?" He approached with that passive-aggressive tone typical of someone who loves to humiliate. "This spot has always been mine. You must be new here. No one ever parks there. But this is the spot that's in my lease. Number 27. It's marked on the garage map." He laughed contemptuously. "Contract, what a joke. I've lived here for 8 years. I've always parked here. That's tradition. It doesn't come with regulations." Tradition. Since when is tradition worth more than a deed? He started raising his voice. "I'm warning you. It'll get bad for you if you insist. Don't park there." Some neighbors started looking, and there I was, in the car, my heart racing, feeling my anger rising, but I remained calm. "Look, I don't want any trouble, but this spot is in my name. It's the one assigned to me. I have everything registered." And he, as if he were the building manager, the lawyer, and the judge all at once, "If you park there, your life will be difficult in here tomorrow." Yes, he said that, straight up, a veiled threat in his own building's parking lot. The worst part, he stood there, arms crossed, physically preventing me from parking. I had to back up and look for a visitor's spot, just to avoid a bigger mess there. Went up to my apartment trembling, a mixture of anger, indignation, and helplessness. How can anyone have the courage to act like that? Do you feel so much ownership over other people's space that you think you can impose your will by shouting? That man thought no one would dare to confront him. He was loud, intimidating, and he'd probably done this to other neighbors before. But with me, he chose the wrong person. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my lease. I went to the real estate agent's email. I looked for the parking garage map, and there it was. Space 27 linked to my unit. It wasn't a choice. It was my right. And I was going to see it through. Because if he thought being arrogant was enough to control the entire building, he was about to learn a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. After the grotesque scene in the parking garage, my mind wouldn't stop. I relived that look of superiority, the veiled threats, the way he spoke as if I were an intruder, an invader. But what he didn't know or underestimated is that I'm not the type to take it lying down. The next morning, before I'd even had breakfast, I opened the apartment's documents folder. There was my lease and, attached, the parking garage map, with Space 27 marked in blue, the exact spot where he'd prevented me from parking. I printed everything. I took a picture. I saved it on my phone, on my drive, and emailed it to myself. I was prepared. I sent a message to the condominium management. I briefly explained what had happened and asked, "Is there any record of a change of parking space for apartment 301, or any history of conflict with parking space 27? The response came quickly, dry, but revealing. "Spot 27 is exclusively linked to your apartment. There is no right of use, history, or permission from the resident of 301 regarding it." There, made official. But the story doesn't end with an email. Arrogant people like 301 only learn through exposure. I went down to the garage that afternoon. I parked in my spot, and yes, I filmed the whole thing, not out of provocation, but out of caution. I knew he would show up, and he did. He walked over, just like last time, with that sneering look on his face. "You're kidding, right? You still had the nerve to park here. You think you're going to be a bully now?" I opened the glove compartment, took out a copy of the contract, and handed it to him. "This spot is mine. It's in the contract. It's in the management system. And, from today on, this is where I'll park my car. Every day." He was silent for 2 seconds. Then, he snorted, took a step forward, and blurted out, "You're asking for trouble, huh? This isn't going to end with just talking." I recorded that too. I immediately went upstairs and sent the video to management with a simple comment, Another direct threat. I'm requesting action. And, if necessary, I'll contact a lawyer. Asterisk, asterisk, it was enough to stir up trouble in the building. The building manager called me. He said there had been old complaints against him, but never any proof. Other residents started sending me private messages. One told me, he tried to do this to me 2 years ago. I was new here and ended up giving in. I parked far away for almost a month. It was a pattern. He used fear and tone of voice as weapons, and no one had ever confronted him with firmness and proof. This time, it was different. I had everything: the official document, email from the administration, video of the threat, reports from other residents, and most importantly, the desire to go all the way in the following days. I maintained my normal routine. I parked in spot 27, got out calmly, without responding to provocations. He would pass by and mutter quiet comments, but he didn't pull over, because now he knew he was surrounded, and me, I was just beginning to show that kindness isn't synonymous with weakness, and that an arrogant neighbor's place ... isn't in my parking space. Some people only back down when they're cornered by their own lies, and the neighbor at 301 was exactly like that. In the days following the threat, he continued to display the same behavior: a scowl, low-key remarks, and that look of someone who still believed he could win by shouting. But I remained steadfast. I parked in my parking space every day, with my head held high and my registration saved on my phone, ready to show again if necessary. The turning point came one Friday morning. I was driving away when I saw his car parked across the street, blocking my exit, and there he was, arms crossed, leaning against the hood. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I got out of the car. "Can you move the car, please?" he smirked. "You could stop being stubborn. No one wants trouble here. I'm not the one causing trouble. I'm the one being threatened for using my parking space." He took a step closer. "You're new. You're digging your own grave here. There are people in the building who respect me. You'll end up getting burned." That was it. He thought he was still in control. That's when I said, "Then let's settle this once and for all. I'm giving you a chance to apologize now, before I share it with the entire building." He laughed. "Do you think anyone will take your side over a parking space?" I responded with another question. "And do you think anyone will stay on your side after seeing this?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the recording of the last threat, with the date, time, clear audio, and his license plate visible in the reflection of the glass. I also showed him the photo of the contract, the management's email, and the messages of support I'd already received from other residents. He went blank. He took 2 steps back, and for the first time, he was speechless. That same day, I sent everything to the board and requested an extraordinary meeting with the building manager and the council. On Sunday afternoon, the meeting took place in the common room, and I went calm confident with my folder in hand, and the certainty that this story needed to end with witnesses. There they were, the building manager, 2 council members, and at least 8 residents who knew about the situation. When I showed them the recordings and the contract, the reaction was instantaneous. One of the council members looked at 301 and said, "You tried to take her parking spot based on tradition. That's serious. And you even blocked her car from leaving." He tried to justify himself. "It's just that I've always parked there. No one ever complained. I thought it wouldn't be a problem." "You threatened her, man," a resident said. "You told her she'd be bothered, that she'd get burned. That's harassment. That's abuse." He tried to laugh, but no one else laughed with him. The building manager was blunt. "Starting today, any further interference will be grounds for an official warning, and if there's a repeat offense, we'll contact the HOA's lawyers. You're officially notified." He left the room silently. No excuses, no arrogance, no audience to applaud, and me. I left feeling lighter, not just because of the victory, but because finally someone had held him up to the test stand, shown him who he really was. After the meeting with the building manager and the board, something changed in the building. The neighbor from 301, who used to walk around with his chest puffed out and loudly talking to everyone, now walked by with his head down. The forced greetings were gone, and he, who thought he was untouchable, finally felt the weight of being seen as what he always was, a rule-breaker. In the following days, the difference was clear. No more cars blocked my parking space, no more indirect remarks were thrown in the hallway, and, ironically, The same man, who tried to intimidate me, started to avoid even passing me in the elevator. The funniest thing is that some residents came to thank me. You did what no one else dared. He always thought he could boss everyone around. Congratulations for not backing down. It was time he learned a lesson. Little by little, I discovered stories that only reinforced how much he abused the situation. He had already designated the visitors' parking spot as exclusive for his guests. I had already argued with a 70-year-old woman because she was slow to exit the garage. He had already threatened to sue a neighbor for parking her motorcycle near his car. It was a pattern. He bullied to get what he wanted, until someone decided to say enough, and that's when the story completely turned in my favor. The following month, the building's annual meeting took place, and guess who tried to take the lead in approving new garage rules? Yes, him. But this time, no one supported him. When he stood up to speak, one of the council members said, "Do you really think anyone here will accept your suggestions after what you did?" The room erupted in laughter and murmurs. He was disarmed by the force of his own reputation, now tarnished. I, on the other hand, gained respect, not because of the confrontation itself, but because I demonstrated that rights aren't just demanded, they're exercised. Today, I park in space 27 every day, calmly, certain that that space is mine by contract, by law, and by justice. Some residents tell me that my attitude paved the way for changes in the condominium. The administration, which previously ignored certain problems, is now more attentive than You stay quiet, in his corner, not daring to repeat old habits. I confess, I'm not one to hold grudges, but every time I park and see his car a few spaces away, I can't help but smile, not out of revenge, but out of relief for having proven that arrogance doesn't last when confronted with firmness, evidence, and courage. And if there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's this: those who think they own what isn't theirs eventually lose even the little they had, respect. He tried to take my spot, and ended up losing his voice in the condo. Like, comment, and subscribe, because real stories like this prove that, in the end, justice always prevails.